and we're heading close to the town of Big Bear. So last few days, you can see I'm in my puffy. We've had a lot of up and down with the weather. Basically the first day we came out, the first few days actually were pretty blazing hot, and last night as we were walking through, hit some really bad weather on top of one of the mountains. It got so hazy you couldn't see in front of your face, and somehow, I think just because we were caught on top of the mountain and there wasn't much of a place to go, like not much tenting, not much stealth camping, we actually pushed on about 20 miles somehow to right outside of a shelter. There was a shelter, but we just made camp. We set up tents. I've had a pretty turbulent last few days. I got sick for some reason, and basically like couldn't hold anything down for essentially 24 hours, and I've been kind of recovering from that since. I'm feeling really good today, just ready for like a town day to replenish the calories I've lost out on, because when you're walking all day, like I still had to make some mileage, and it's really hard to do that on a soft stomach. So I'm glad it's passing and that we are in the clear, but I definitely need some more food. I think I'm going to stock up on some like higher calorie meals for this next stretch so that I can try and like stack them. Other thing, my tent broke. The zipper was already looking a little rough. It's got a lot of wear and tear. Like it lasted me the entire AT. I love my tent, and it's actually really sentimental to me at this point, but I think, actually, shout out to Mom. Mom came through. She overnight shipped me a new Big Agnes tent, and I'm going to ship mine home and just hope that I can like repair it when I get back home and use it for front country, or we'll just see how good of a job I can do. But it's been well loved. It's seen about, we're about 250 miles in now, so I think that it's the AT plus that's a long time for a tent. I mean, overnight use, like every single night. It's been well loved. So I'm excited to see my new one. I've got a different model this time. I've only ever used the copper spur, and I'll be trading it out for a Fly Creek, and I'll give you like the rundown about that when we get into town. But other than that, more water carries. We did actually camp next to water for the first time the other day, and it was really nice. Like camp next to the stream. Terrain was not terrible. Today is pretty much all downhill, and basically it's about way less than, we started out 20 miles from town. Now we're way less than that, headed toward water, and then we'll be about, I don't know, 10 miles from the road, and hopefully get a hitch in the morning and head back in. They have a McDonald's, so I can get some chicken nuggets and ice cream and all that good stuff and try to build my stomach back up. Oh my gosh, we saw our first rattlesnake. We were actually heading down to the water, and he was really well hidden. He was he was behind some rocks and like really hidden behind the brush and shrubbery. And I've never actually seen a rattler in person before, so that was a little alarming, but I'm glad that they give you so much notice. It's a lot different than like copperheads. We've been in these really great pine groves. I don't know if you can see all of this back here, but it's beautiful. I'm really enjoying these stretches. They smell so good. It always reminds me of like bits of the Smokies, especially like near like Charlie's Bunyan, and that's my favorite hike. And it always smells like Christmas. I just feel like it smells like Christmas. It's very comforting. I hope we get to stay in some stretches like this for a while. Don't have my hopes up because we've been in and out of everything. Like it was 90 degrees pretty much the last couple of days, and then last night it dropped down to 20, and it was vicious winds, terrible, like a little bit of cold rain. It was all dried up by the morning, but was not expecting that. It was a really brutal night, but it made me really grateful that I like really invested some good quality gear this time, because last time there were several nights that should not have been as chilly as they were, and having the right stuff like makes a big difference out here. It can make it really comfortable. I think I had on, well, I kept my sun shirt on, sun shirt, fleece, puffy jacket. I had on fleece leggings, 2 pairs of socks in my sleeping bag, and it was just a long night, very windy. Didn't matter how well you staked everything out, it was just ripping through it. Still enjoying it. It's pretty. We've seen some very snow-capped mountains today. Not sure if we'll be going over those or not, but they're so pretty to look at. Just completely different like terrain almost every single day. We had our first trail magic. So we had a really hot day where basically we had a 15-mile water stretch, and it was so hot. People were like ducking under rocks to try and hide from the sun, but we were running pretty low, so we stretched on and got to the spigot. Must have spent a couple of hours there. That was kind of the beginning of me feeling bad. I've not yet determined whether it was like a bug or if it was just heat exhaustion, maybe a little bit of both. But we filled up, we drenched our shirts a little bit, and then sat there for a little while. And what's really funny is when we did finally decide to go on, there was actually trail magic like right past there down at the road, and her name was Vera. She's a trail angel. She's done it for several years now. Actually started in 2018, but she does it about 5 times a season, and she's amazing, so sweet. Comes out there, did her research online and just thought it was really cool, and we are so appreciative of her coming out and doing that. She had cold drinks, she had tons of snacks, fruit. It was really nice, and lots of chairs, so we sat and talked to her for a little while. About that point, it was like really, usually like hiker bedtime. Rule of thumb, no matter what trail you're on, is around 7 p.m. So everyone's like tucked in by then, and we were hitting that 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock range. We needed to like press out a few more miles before we set up camp, and we did press on. But we didn't make it super far. We actually ended up camping just before there was like some space out on this flat just before like it passes under Interstate 10, and we camped there near some bushes for some like wind protection. There are lots of wind farms out here, and I completely understand why, because I don't know if I've ever been anywhere so windy, but I mean that's great. And we did have a nice camp. We could hear the cars, but not nearly as much as we could hear the train. There was a huge train that came by, but honestly it didn't bother me too much. I already like wasn't feeling well, so kind of in and out of sleep anyway. A lot of the cactuses are blooming now, which I was really hoping we'd get to see. This is about the peak of I guess like the spring flowers and stuff right now, so I was really excited. As we came back down into like the lower elevations, we saw a lot of those going through like the lagunas, but they weren't bloomed yet. So to get to see them all blossom, I mean, so many colors. Maybe I'll pop a few in here, but oh my gosh, they were so pretty. And lots of like other new flowers. I'm still waiting to see the mariposas. It's supposed to be like the most beautiful flower in the desert, so I'm excited to get a glimpse of those. They're in California, I just don't know where. Idlewild was our last day. It was awesome. We actually were able to get there early enough that we like Nero'd, which is where you just like do a few miles into town, and we stayed at the campground. We got there just in time. Checkout was like noon, and they have a really neat hiker-biker campground where basically anyone who's a hiker or biker who does not have a vehicle can stay, which is obviously popular amongst PCT hikers. And we went there, and camping was really inexpensive. Campground was really nice. So we camped there for a night, and then we actually went to the Idlewild Inn the next day. The town is really small. We walked around, like looked at a lot of murals. The town's kind of like sleepy, so it's kind of funny the way things don't typically stay open very late on the weekdays. It sounds like it's like a Friday through Sunday kind of town, and so sometimes things don't open till noon, and they might close at like 5. So the morning hours were actually kind of nice to just walk around and look at things, looked at some murals, ate some good pizza, ate some good burgers. Everyone's really nice and friendly there. The mayor is a dog, we met him, and just a cute town. Great for a first like full town stay, and looking forward to another break. But I'll check in again soon, and I'll see you up trail. So I picked up my new tent. This is the Fly Creek 2-person, so the UL2. It actually, believe it or not, is really, really spacious, and it actually is lighter than my 1-person copper spur. It is one of the top-rated like ultralight tents for through hiking. So I actually obviously am inside a hotel room, so I don't have the back staked out right now. This one actually, my tent, so I guess for reference, mine breaks off in the front like this. It's obviously a little shorter. My tent is lower to the ground. I actually have more headroom here. This is about the same, except I have an additional bar that comes across here to hold this open, so it's more gathered here in the middle. It's about the same amount of mesh, really. I like that it has this splash pad down at the bottom, because that becomes really important, especially probably as we go north and we experience more rain. And then also here in the back, mine actually splits out. So I actually have less weight in this pole by having this tent. I will have a couple of additional stakes because these corners will have to be staked out. So that'll be an interesting, we've been in a lot of like rocky sand, so I'm kind of curious to see how that goes. It's also like a little more spacious. I mean, you can see how much room it takes up here. I'm kind of curious to see, it'll reframe like picking out where I tent, because I've been able to squeeze into some smaller spots, but I'm gonna need a little bit more space with this one. However, I was a little worried about like the front open closure. I'm used to having like a side entrance, but actually this one's so huge, like I think it'll actually be really easy to get in and out of. I still have lots and lots of room for my backpack to be inside with me. I have the top pocket just like I did on my other one, and I actually love, there are little loops in the top of these tents. I like to go through and add a paracord so that I can actually hang my sweaty clothes at the end of the day. So I'm really actually pretty excited about checking this tent out more and seeing how I like it. I'll add some updates. From the desert sun. So thank you, Laguna. It's beautiful.